We can start though.
All right, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get started, whether, look, as soon as I say that.
There it is.
Then he walks in the door.
All right, and what about Ms. Castillo? Is she still gonna be,
On the phone, right?
Sean,
because I know she's got, at some point, she's gotta leave work to come here, so she's gonna be offline.
Yes.
So regardless,
Unless she's listening in the car.
you still wanna do the vote anyway, just in case she comes in?
Go ahead and get started.
No, we did.
didn't we vote on that?
Are they separate work? These are separate. We
Oh.
probably should. They're separate.
Okay. All right, it's 4:06, we're gonna call this workshop to order.
Ms. Castillo left her phone, so she won't be connected to the.
Okay,
Okay.
so we don't have to worry about that first item. So,
Okay, yep, that's it.
Madam Superintendent, you recognize?
Yes, thank you very much, members of the board. This is our planning services workshop to review the five-year educational plan survey and also to provide a short real estate update. So with that, I'll turn it over to our planning team with Director Rhonda Blake and Jason Lindsay.
Good afternoon, I'll take over from there. Good afternoon, board members. If you remember back in September 2021, we came to you and said we're kicking off the educational plan survey, the five-year educational plan survey. It's a year-long process that involves several steps along the way to come to the final conclusion and DOE approval in June. In doing that, we brought on Ms. Medina Willis with Clemens Rutherford Architects to assist us with getting the plant survey completed. And with that, we're going to go over a brief overview of what the plant survey is, go into some of the recommendations and things you'll see on the survey once it's brought to you for approval. Just to let you know right now, a rough draft is up with DOE right now. They're doing a preliminary review of it just to make sure they don't see anything that they won't approve before we bring it to you for approval. Benita?
I'm Benita Willis. I work with CRA Architects. I've been with CRA as a school planner consultant for 5 years. Before that, I was a teacher. So I'm into the education thing. And I've worked with several districts on their surveys. I write custodies, performance audits, and so forth. All I do is schools. So that's who I am. You can click me on. Your survey was completed using information gathered in a feasibility study. Everything, even by year. It was a fun survey to work on, very tedious, very detailed, and we put a whole lot in it. I want you guys to know that a survey, while when you look at it, you're gonna be like, wow, we're not gonna get this, you're not gonna get all that money. But it's a menu. And when you go to the restaurant, you're not going to buy every entree. You're going to pick what you want, what dessert, what drink. So it's a list of things that we think we can get approved, should you want to use state dollars for it. And that's what it is. It's an outlook of educational facilities and their support structures for the next 5 years. It does not target instructional needs. It targets the buildings and what those buildings need to continue their maintenance and ensure that the schools are offering the best that they can to your students. The survey terms included are remodeling, which is actually raising, it's tearing down or taking out a wall and changing a space. Renovating, which is to go in and upgrade systems, HVAC, anything like that. And new construction, which is your new schools or new wings. The survey must be done every 5 years and can be done more often. When it's done more often, it's generally a spot survey, which may cover a few facilities. Your full survey covers every facility that the school board owns. So this is the full one, and we've got everything in it. It is, it's, when speaking of the patterns of student projections, we call that COFTI. That's what the state thinks that you are going to have for students. It's a capital outlay, full-time equivalency. It's not really what your FTE is. It's what they project.
I got a question. On that survey itself, is it required to have like an estimated years of life left? Or is like the property condition a part of it? Or do you guys just look at when it was placed in service and how much it should be? Is there an actual physical audit of every facility?
Well, what we do is we take the facilities condition assessment provided by maintenance that they update every year. And we recognize the needs that they note on their facilities condition assessment. And that's what we base the survey off of, whether they need a new chiller, whether they need new flooring, whether they need painting in that school. We include that information in the spot, in the educational plan survey. So that, through the next 5 years, should be in there. Everything that facilities is noted that they need, and Mark and Dave as well. Anything they see that we need, we put it into the survey. Now, just keep in mind, this is only if we need to use state dollars. A lot of our construction, all of our construction is used local money. Local money, we can build what we need to when we need to. But this is just to say that if we had state funds to do this, we could use state funds to do these projects as well.
You could actually have a full survey with no recommendations, but you can't use their state money if you don't get something approved. So we got as much in there as we could. They're reviewing it. They may have me pull some things out, but we loaded it up. So if they happen to give you money, you've got something in there already listed to use it for.
Now, what part of money is that? Because I'm old, you know. I remember PICO. There used to be
that's
a,
what
there used to be a
That's what it's
categorical
for.
just for that. I mean, is there a PICO equivalent, just under a new name, or?
No, but this is the report that you would relate to PICO.
So back in the day, if it wasn't approved in your EdPlan survey, you could not use your PICO dollars for it. And then if you came up with a need that wasn't in here, we'd have to do something called a spot survey. And basically, you move something from school A to create what you need at school B, and everything always had to be a balance based on your COFD, not your warm bodies. So they still make us do this compliance report, even though the PICO funds are not available. But it is in place should that shift, and then we have to do this every 5 years.
And you do get a little bit of capital outlay money.
Yeah.
It's not much. So what we put in the survey is far more than you're going to get, but you have options, and that's what we want to do is open up all the options for you. Should somebody say, hey, we've fallen short, well, we've already got that in the survey approved, so we can use our state dollars.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
You're welcome. The money that you do get, which really isn't much to speak of, but it's based on your bodies. And so twice a year you have the FTE counts, and everybody wants the kids to come to school because that's where you get your dollars, is how many bodies you have. So, but COFD is what DOE projects. FTE is your actual students. And your COFD is calculated on something called the cohort survival method, which calculates growth or declines based on students who are enrolled, and it's called the survival rate, birth rates, population shifts, and deaths. You left me? Okay, you did. The process for choosing a school site, is that where we are?
We're on 5.
Okay, 5 is a statute. Okay, that is your Florida statute stating that you have to have a survey every 5 years.
And it is a Florida statute, so a school district can be sanctioned if they do not comply.
All right. Things that are considered within a district when writing a survey are to build a new school or add on to an existing school. How many student seats? We call them student stations, but it's seats, how many we need. Keeping in mind the Department of Education requires certain utilizations to be met for a new school to be in an approved survey. Educational planning is a thoughtful process. We want our schools to serve our students and help with their educational needs. I don't like to read slides, but I did like this. If a school is not planned in the terms of its purpose, its scope, and its programs, the resulting structure will almost certainly be just a building. And we don't want a building. We want our schools to do what they're out there to do. The process for choosing a new school site is complex. The district must look at the location of growth within a district, how many homes could be built, estimate how many students that growth could present, and build in an area which will best service those those areas, or add to an existing school to prepare for the growth. So you guys have a great department that does that. That's not my job, but I took the information that they gave me, and that's what we rolled with.
I think it's interesting that they sit there and they say, we intend to co-locate district educational facilities with other public facilities, like parks, libraries. Because at a couple board meetings ago, well, it's been a while, but man, it's been 2 years, been flying. At one point, we have all these new developments, and I didn't realize that because I always know from our point of view, we have to dedicate so much space for us. But the county gets dedicated space for parks and recs. And that's one thing I think I spoke with Rhonda, is can we coordinate that? Why is Parks and Recs using their 5 acres on the other side of the property and ours is on this side? If we can build like some of the parking lots next to them, and then we can co-share that space, you know what I mean?
Right.
So that way there's one entrance and not 2 entrances, you know what I mean? And so,
And that's awesome.
but I don't know how far we are with that. That's another story for another day. I mean, like, we talked about it, but I mean, we actually had the conversation with the county and the
We're
county
looking at
agreed.
that right now with the Sunrail Master Park Plan. We're looking at that with Bellaterra. So as the developments are coming online, we talked the other day with Rolling Bridge. So as those new developments are coming online, we are working on those co-locations.
Okay. Yay. Okay, you talk about it, but it's nice to know that staff is actually doing something about it.
Well, that is the whole county's theory with their community centers and urban centers and.
Was to create that
is to-
co-location concept.
Exactly, that's been in place for about 5 years, I think.
It's amazing when they all get
Come
together,
together,
how it can really benefit everybody. This is,
This is an overview of our coffee. That'll be in the survey.
We kind of got the slides on it.
yeah, I know,
Yeah, we do.
we're rocking on three. And there's your numbers as to what's reported right now. And that's coffee, that's not your actual bodies.
And that's what we had to base the survey off of. And the first slide before that was just what's not included in COFT students when they do this surveys each year.
It's your charter schools, your at-home students, hospital students,
McKay
Yeah.
and dual enrollment, not housed and district owned.
So all those kids are pulled out of their COFT numbers. Okay.
All right, the Department of Education comes every 5 years and picks generally 3 schools, 5% of your district is what they try to do. And they go through and measure everything to make sure that what you're reporting on your fish is accurate within 5%. And they did that December 14th. Y'all did great, you got a star. Your facilities list was approved by the school board in 2021 November. Your DVE 768, which is all of your programs in technical schools, it has been approved. I have an approval date of 3/24/22. I think y'all got some kudos from DOE for some of the programs that you offer. I know that because I was on the thread of emails, so that was pretty awesome. And your facility recommendations, I'm not going to tell you everything that's on the survey because we'd be here until tomorrow morning, and you guys seem really nice, but I'm not spending the night with you. But as soon as we get the cursory, so that we know that everything on it can be approved, then you'll get it, and if you have any questions, we can certainly deal with them. Some of what is on it, we have a new East Side High School, a new West Side Pre-K 5, a new West Side Pre-K 8. Those are not funded by the state, but we're going to get the Department of Education's blessings on those schools. Kind of a tough thing to do, so we're really happy to get all 3 of those in. HVAC improvements, pavement improvements, flooring, painting, plumbing renovations, removing all your older portables, site work for drainage and improved walkways. We managed to get a few of the turfs worked on. I think we did really well on this survey. Everything, there are some things that are not on your survey, and we call those district-wide recommendations. They are ADA improvements. You don't have to ask anybody to approve that. You just do it. Replacement of equipment, roofs. We did slide a few roofs in. They might get to stay, they might not. Storage for custodial sanitation facilities to service anybody, any of your students or staff. Paved auto parking areas, I actually did slide a little bit of that in as well. To purchase sites for educational and ancillary facility use, and retrofit any existing schools for technology.
So those are under a general bubble that you can pretty much do anything that falls into those categories.
Pretty
You don't have
much.
to have a special approval for those.
Blanket statement.
And just to follow up on what Benita was talking about, we do have a full survey going. When she talked about we would have to go out and if it's not in the survey and we want to do it, we'd have to go back in and do a spot survey. It's later on down the line. And a couple of things, Mr. Clinch was talking about buildings 16 and 17 for Gateway High School. Those are not currently in the survey, but if we get approval prior to April 28th from DOE, we can put those in the survey. If we don't, we'll just have to come back through with a spot survey saying we're just going to raise those buildings and demolish them.
Unless y'all agree that if we can get it in at the last minute, then we'll slide it on in there.
Yeah, but our cutoff is, by the time our cutoff to submit to you, we'll try to get it in there if we can get approval. Also, the Reedy Creek Custody, whenever we get the results of that back, that'll come back to you at a later date for spot survey, which is a partial survey, not the full-blown survey with every school.
Usually spot surveys cover a particular project, or if you're building a new school and you want to move students out of this school, and this school, and this school, and put them in this school, you can do a spot survey to shift them around.
Yeah, we do a spot survey when we changed Harmony Community School from a K-8 to an elementary school only. We had to do a spot survey showing where those middle school kids were going to go.
You guys have any questions for me? No. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being with us.
I enjoyed being
that,
with y'all.
We're going to turn this over to Mr. Blake and Bishop Hill and Duncan for the real estate update.
Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you.
Don't forget.
I'm not gonna go far without them.
No, Jason.
Look at Mike trying to get out of coming to the table.
I know he wants to sit at the head. so-
I don't need to.
Hi, thanks, guys, I appreciate it.
Hello.
All right.
For the record, for
yeah.
Tanya, because she'll call me tomorrow and say, who was that?
Sure, sorry.
So this is Bishop Bill and Duncan. So we have Jill Rose and Mike Bill with us this evening to help with the real estate update.
And these updates are done months in advance, so I have a little supplement of things that'll be different than what is on your PowerPoint presentation. So let's start out with, I'll go in the same order as your presentation, however. Lakeview 5th Street, we are under contract with Ashton Woods, that's our buyer. We have had to do some extensions. Due diligence will now end on May 31st, and mainly those extensions were due to the fact that the city of St. Cloud has required some off-site improvements and has made some assumptions on whose liability those off-site improvements should be, and they're quite a bit of money. We had to get that priced out and then figure out who was going to pay in-house. So we're working through that. Our attorney on that deal is, third-party attorney on that is Marcos Marchena, and we're working through that with Marcos and Ashton Woods. In addition, the deal that we struck with Ashton was that they would build 175 units. They were actually able to fit 194 units, and they were just going to go with that. And so we said, no, you're going to pay per door for every unit you get over 175 units. So we're looking at probably another $500,000 on that sale for those.
Oh, that's just the
additional
sale
units.
itself. That doesn't include like the impact fee.
Correct. No, that's just the.
When you say per door, I'm thinking like the impact fees, but you're talking about.
Just land
Price
price.
per lot.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and that was a pretty aggressive deal to begin with, so that will be a nice return on the both. So we're moving through that. Like I said, due diligence ends 5/31, and you guys will be informed in terms of them moving forward. At this point, we don't see anything hindering that process with Ashton Woods. Pine Tree is the
When's
next
when's
property.
the closing
Sorry.
gonna move to?
We have contingencies of approvals on closing. That property needed a land use change and a rezone, so that's gonna probably push that out to a drop dead date of April of,
So that didn't change,
yeah,
April 15th.
April 15th of '23.
So we're still trying to meet the deadline, even though there were some extensions in the
Gotcha.
middle.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Now, do we have a deadline for when we're going to negotiate the 1.4 million for the road extension? Because we're negotiating with Ashton Woods.
We are.
Or is it half with the city? Is the city not going to
City
pay
has
anything at
nothing to
all?
do with it.
So it's either going to be between us and Ashton?
Yeah. And so we're just diligently moving through those negotiations. We've had 4 or 5 phone calls, yeah, Zoom calls to work through that. Pine Tree Drive, so as you guys remember, we had some offers on Pine Tree last year, and the board agreed that we would pull it back off the market and remarket it for commercial property. We did that. We really got nothing. And we started having the residential developers call us back, and after we evaluated that property again, based upon a new type of product structure that these developers are coming out with, which is called build for rent, they are able to buy land differently than home builders. They buy land on cash flow, once those, just like an apartment, but it's a house. And so they build 150 houses, they rent them all out, they sell it on that rent, which allows them to pay a lot more on land. So we believe that the offers are going to come in, you know, I don't want to go, I'm going to say 30% at least higher than what we had before. We went out for a call for offers with your approval last board meeting. Thank you for that. And our due date is May 6th. So we gave them about 45 days to, we blasted the market, reached out to all the different developers, and we think we'll have multiple offers. And we will address those.
Now, that build-to-rent concept, does that apply with the city ordinances? Because they have their own zoning uses? Because it almost sounds like an apartment complex to a certain degree. Apartment complexes, but with houses.
Correct.
Is that something?
So our neighbor immediately to our east on the new high school side on Nova Road is a for rent for community, and the city of St. Cloud has already approved that. In fact, they have already broken ground. So this is also a city of St. Cloud property, so we know that it would be permitted within
That's
their
one on
limits.
15 as well, right?
The one right next to us on Nova.
No, on 15.
I just closed
Oh,
one on.
yes, there
Yeah.
is.
On Narcousie Road,
On
isn't it?
Jack
It's on-
Brook
on
and
Jack
Jack Brack and
on the west
Narcousie.
side. Mhm.
And there's no reduction of impact fees on that? That doesn't create a special categorical?
No,
And
no, it
that-
makes it a little
yeah.
easier from a permitting perspective because it's one plat, it's not individual lots.
These are
So-
coming all over the country.
Yeah, they are, yeah, yeah,
It's the new demand out of the pandemic, because
Right.
now people know they want a little bit of space to
Right.
be able to go outside
Right.
versus the fully enclosed apartment building.
Correct.
So that's really what's driving this.
Really? So they want a little bit larger lot? What do you think?
They want a little
Rhonda?
green space to walk the puppy and play with the kids, yes.
It's been hard. I've been for 30 years.
So we'll see how those offers look when we get them in. We have sent out buyer qualifications, and basically you're saying, you know, aside from telling them what to offer, that's up to them, but this is how it needs to come in, so everything's consistent. And it'll be really easy for us to look apples to apples at all the different offers. We did speak to the 2 owners to the north, just so you guys know, because that property's bifurcated, and we've got the 4 acres or 4.7, whatever it is, to the north, that's weird shaped and dimensions aren't very good. We did speak to the representative for the Rosin properties, and we did, with help, and thank you, speak to the representative for the Whaley family, and just told them, look, a lot of the buyers that we're talking to have also expressed interest in purchasing your properties, and so we're just trying to ultimately get the most value out for the school board,
Right.
but
Now, the only concern about that, because I'm familiar with that piece, it looked like it's almost like a wetland, or wooded, so it doesn't even look like it's developable. Not our piece, the piece that's adjacent to it, the little 4 acres there. The only thing is that allowed, I guess you can ask the city, is that allowed to become like a retention pond for them locally? Because if it's gonna be wasted space, why would somebody wanna buy it?
Sure.
Because when I looked at it, I don't think it really could, I don't think you could put anything on it.
Okay.
So it's almost like a waste.
They could
you know.
probably use it for the open space requirement.
Yeah,
When we were looking at it for a transportation facility, that was our plan. We were gonna do our retention on that
Correct.
piece.
Yeah, because in that way, it changes the negotiation with them, because I don't want to like give anyone the false impression that, oh yeah, you could combine it together and do this great thing.
Right, and
you
it's
can't
worth
develop
it,
on it.
sure.
And I don't want to look like we're misleading
Agreed,
anybody.
yeah.
Now, it could have value
Yeah.
if it allows us to have water retention, but the only problem is if he's using it as water retention, the seller's got to be realistic on his price. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's like, he's not going to get fully developed,
Right.
price per acre
Right.
for water retention.
right. I will pull the wetland layer off of GIS and just check that, and then also probably talk to, we have a consultant that we talk to all the time, just with advice and see what the mitigation opportunity is for that, or engineers to see which way the drainage would flow. Yeah, thank you. On the acquisition side, we've got two, as you guys know, acquisitions that we've been working on daily for a long time, and I think they're both supposed to close this month.
Yes.
I don't know, Rhonda, if you could, because I know the dates were
So
on
the dates
Thursday's
have
call.
shifted
Yeah.
since we've done this. So right now, we are looking at closing on Avenue A on April 20th.
Okay.
And then Knightsbridge, I believe, is the 23rd, somewhere between the 23rd and the 28th. Just depends on when all parties can become available.
Perfect. So those are, you guys are going to hear we're going to have to hear something tonight on it, on Ham Brown, on Avenue A, for the access agreements, and then again on April 14th, I believe.
So on this evening's agenda is the conveyance agreement for one of two access parcels. The one coming before the board tonight is with South Florida Water Management. Their board did require that we approve the documents first, and then they will approve them on April 14th. And TWA was just the opposite. They're going to approve their conveyance documents on April 13th, and then we will bring the second parcel to you on April 19th. And those are the last two items, along with the traffic impact analysis. So we are still on schedule
It's
to,
been a lot of work on that parcel, isn't it? Trying to
on those
solve
two
that,
parcels.
yeah.
Yep.
That has been a lot of work.
Yeah.
Because South Florida required an additional 20 acres of wetland. So we had to reach back out to Mr. Brown and get him to agree to take another 20 acres of wetland out of the parent tract. And that will convey to us, and then during the closing, we automatically convey it over to South Florida. And without that additional 20 acres, they would not have closed on the deal with us. So it's
And we're not
been a
paying
lot of
extra
back
for
and
those
forth.
20 acres, right?
No, it's just passed through. We were given a value. We're not paying anything for any of these. All of these are conveying at
Trade.
like $10 nominal. But there was a lot of working out with all of the parties, getting all of the construction, because at the same time, TWA will start their reuse facility. So we had to work our construction schedule out with theirs, because we're all gonna come in on the same easement. They'll go right, we'll go left. So it's been a lot of work
It
with
has.
BBD, with Fallon Law Firm, with Frank, with Dr. Pace has been on phone calls with this, so it's
Now, you've
definitely
work-
been a joint
you've
party.
been working with the, assuming that we are getting this. I mean, with the transportation facility.
Yeah, yes, yes.
It's not slowed down, is what I'm saying. We're still, okay.
So we're ready to go out with the design RFQ as soon as this, the closing happens. And the closing is gonna happen before our due diligence period expires by 2 days,
And then
I think.
the east
So
will be
that
the
was good.
prototype for the west.
So, yeah, East is now moving forward, where we just negotiated, in the process of negotiating the design fee. You'll see that at the April 19th board meeting. The CM.
Of the east,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, I'm talking about East, which is Nova.
Right, Nova,
That will soon go into design. The CM RFQ was forwarded to procurement last week, so that will soon be on the street. And then West will follow, and we hope to, for parts of it to be prototypical from what we're doing at East.
I hate to be the
jump in there.
The devil's advocate here. An important piece of that is we have to have a red light, because I understand that buses cannot turn left on a main road without a light.
Correct.
So here we are closing and everything. I don't see, when is the red light? Is that a county thing, or is that a
Which one?
state?
Knightsbridge or Avenue A?
Oh, Avenue A, Avenue A, yeah.
Avenue
Avenue A is
A,
the big one.
that
That's
traffic,
the- I
yeah.
got 10,000 buses going in there, and I need a light.
The signal warrant is in to warrant the signal. They are just finishing up the traffic impact analysis with the county. They have to do their final approval, and the full approval should be in here by the close of this week. But we will not close on this without that, because the signal was the one thing transportation said they had to have, because they're not gonna run 300 buses down to Poinciana High School, try to make a U-turn and come back.
So we should have the
is-
results before, so in other words, we're not closing on the 20th if we don't have the traffic signal.
Right, and yeah, we will not close on, we would not have closed on either deal without the signal lights in place.
Okay, well, just in case, and as a heads up, when I motion to approve, or whoever motions to approve, I want to add that in as an amendment, just to make sure it's clear for the record, that, we're approving these processes to go ahead, but we still want to make clear that without a traffic signal approved, that we do not authorize the closing of the.
Excellent point.
And that is a due diligence requirement in the original agreement, so we would not be able to close without the traffic signal signed, sealed, and delivered. It's in the original purchase and sale agreement as one of the due diligence items that had to be
Right.
met, so we couldn't have closed without it. So yes.
Okay. And so due diligence period and closings at the same time? That's not typical in real
So-
estate. There's usually due diligence period that closes, and then you have closing later.
So actually, the due diligence period for Avenue A was April 22nd. But we knew the traffic impact analysis was coming in, and then the additional, and Mr. Callen was working with Mr. Brown and Frank Townsend Senior, and they agreed on the April 20 closing date, and we felt that we could meet it, so we've actually we will close before the original due diligence period was set. So this was
That's pretty
basically
generous of a
coming
seller,
in.
because most sellers don't want to hold on, because we lose the deposit. Here, the deposit's not
It's not
at risk.
No.
Okay. Well, good job, then, whoever wrote that contract up. so.
Thank you.
The seller is a good community person.
Yeah, he is.
Not out here to rip off the school district.
Yeah.
Correct.
So let's give him credit for dealing with it.
He definitely had a lot of offers other than ours, and he
Yes.
held out
Yes.
to work with us through the long haul. He had a lot of opportunities to step
Yes.
aside, and he did not step aside from us.
Yeah, this property wasn't for sale, and it's not really a parcel either. He has 585 acres, and so we kind of said, well, we want this. And
By the industrial
yeah,
piece?
mhm. And that's something that's going to have to happen more often, because these opportunities in the budget that y'all need to be in are not available. I mean, they're just not. We're gonna have to get more creative. When you talk about Flora Ridge, I mean, we've been looking for a site for Flora Ridge for 18 months.
I want a quick question. We've got that parcel in Kindred, and you know where Kindred is?
Yes,
Okay, we've got that, we own a parcel
we're
in,
getting ready to build on that.
oh, we are getting ready to build on that. Oh, okay.
We're going to push it out a little bit, because as charter schools came in, it reduced the need of how soon we needed that. In the new 5-year plan, which we haven't shown to Mark or Dr. Pace yet, but we're getting ready to. I believe, Jason, we pushed it out to 25, 26 from 24, 25. So that's because
Okay.
they opened,
Is it gonna be a K-8?
I just went
Was it
blank, the
K-8?
charter school on Canoe Creek. So because of that, we pushed the school. So we've consistently pushed it out for 4 years now due to the continued opening of the charter schools. But it is a K-8, and we will convey on the site by the end of the year. We'll bring it forward to go ahead and take
Okay, good.
acquisition of it,
Okay.
yes.
And all the Gopher tortoises are gone, right?
They've been, yeah, that site has totally been excavated. It's being made pad ready right now. Yep. Turtles have been gone for a while.
Hopefully they don't come back.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's been
They
pad
have a
ready.
mind of their own. Sometimes they don't. They cross little invisible lines.
It's in pad, it's been torn up. They're doing the pad ready, putting the infrastructure in.
We put up a sign
Yeah.
that says no gophers.
As long as you got signs, they won't cross.
They can read.
But yeah, so that'll become, more often, where we're gonna have to look at, different, the property may be being used differently today, and we might be able to, put some land together in assemblage, or just different.
I see assembly going to be more
It's
prevalent.
so expensive, it's so expensive,
That's all-
yeah,
that's all
but,
right.
yeah.
These
Those are
developers
more
are chewing
difficult.
up the, and they're more
They're
challenging.
much more difficult to put
But
together.
the good thing is though, a good thing with growth, but one of the spillover benefits of growth is the large swaths. So they're dedicating land. So we don't have to like
Yes.
buy
Yes,
anymore.
yeah.
When you do like Narcoossee, there was no big development. Everyone kept building these small communities over and
breaking
over
them up
again.
into
I mean,
smaller-
there was no land for us to do it. So Kindred, Toe, Green Island, whatever else that's coming in the future, Edgewater, I don't even know, I forget all these names. They got fancy names for everything. But they're all large enough that they're setting aside land for us. So we don't have to like find it and like, put it together.
That's why we jumped on the Nova Road, because to see that opportunity as a green site was when we got in just ahead of time.
We just beat the wave on that.
Yeah,
We
we
did.
did.
So when are they moving with Center Lake with that DRI?
So Center Lake has some movement in it in the far northern piece. It's been approved for the first 1,100 homes.
Does it bump up against Sunbridge or get close to it?
No, there'll be space in
Or
between.
gap in between?
Yeah, because you'll have Jack Brack and some of that.
Mm.
On the further east and north, they may ultimately come together, but the northern piece has been built, but not the piece where the school is. The school site's actually going to be entered across from Nova Road. And you'll go in about a mile and a half, and the school site will be there, and it's more, they told us about 5 years before we'll be able to access that school site. So, but their first 1,100 homes are in motion.
Really? Gosh.
Yes.
That's the Caruso.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the Crusoe family.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
They've been holding that.
They've been holding it for 50 years, a long,
Forever.
long time, yeah.
Yeah.
The last point, and again, really parlays into what we were discussing, is that last time we met, or the 2 times we met, we had presented the spreadsheet where we did the search of all the larger tracts of land from 20 to 55 acres in Osceola County. That's an overwhelming search. And so we, if that's an effort that the board wants us to pursue, we need to maybe refine and strategically maybe
You cut out
target.
most of the stuff that's not either in the urban growth boundary or maybe take your snap, 5 mile, increase it 5 miles or so, and that gets you in 5, 10, 20 year.
Right.
But we're not gonna build a bunch of schools in Kenansville.
Exactly, right.
But I do know St. Cloud South, whatever they want to call that. I'm not calling it that, which is south of Deer Run.
5 and 6.
Yeah, with South.
Yeah,
Fork.
I know there's
Yeah.
gonna be, but again, are those sites dedicated to, because I remember we saw the map.
So
but that
MXT
doesn't
5
mean
and
the
6
map
will
doesn't
have
mean-
sites dedicated. Green Island has sites dedicated in it, Montana. So a lot of that around East Lake Toho and southeast of Lake Toho, all of those sites have been
Already have
preserved.
dedicated. Okay.
So we're looking more like, we get into the odd ones like Flora Ridge.
Right.
Along the Parkway is, nobody, it's too
Impossible,
expensive,
yeah.
nobody's wanting to work with us, a lot of it was short-term rental. So we
Yes,
still
sir.
need another green site out west. I would still love to be able to work out something with Disney inside of BK Ranch.
The Brown family, have we reached out any more to them?
We have not heard from their representative. We reach out to them once a month, and we have not heard from their representative since November. So, but we are.
That's one of the obvious choices, really.
Yeah. So that's what we still have them looking for green sites. We're going to need a few here and there, but it is about strategically placing them, because then as charter schools come in, what once was the perfect green site is no longer the green site, but we would always be able to market a site back out if we had to on a worst-case scenario.
Right.
Not what we want to do, but, charter schools could impact.
Right.
What looks great now, if the charter schools keep coming, may not, in 7 or 8 years, may not be the perfect location.
The good thing is most land, for the most part, holds its value anyway. In worst case scenario, we might lose a little bit, but it's not going to lose our shirt if we buy something ahead of time, then we have to dump it later.
No, and I mean, in the instances, obviously, of Lakeview and of Pine Tree, it's the opposite, and even Nova, I mean, if some reason you had to sell that future high school site, I think that you would, at that point, gonna be getting a
Can
return.
we trade the land that we have at Pine Tree for another, are we allowed to?
Ooh, that's not a bad idea.
Trade
In
for-
exchange.
I don't know, but
No, because if
the
we need a
developer
forward
has-
side, that could do, and I know exactly what
Yeah.
you're saying. I'm gonna, you can articulate it, 'cause he's-
No, you go ahead, I'm just, we have value there. I mean,
Right.
I didn't know if a developer somewhere else would want it.
Oh,
we could- we could-
we've looked at doing that before. Just, you'd be kind of surprised. They like have their plans, they're ready to go. They're not
It's
wanting
different
to
equity
trade at
partners
if they
and
don't,
different, yeah.
if they're not a larger one already required to put it in there. The smaller guys are like, you know.
Like, for instance, Century City, they're developers. I mean, if they didn't develop their own land, then that's probably, they're sitting on it for something, you know what I mean? So that's a good example, like, hey, Century City, we'll give you some pine tree land that's build to rent, whatever, in exchange for, you know, mitigating some of that to us, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we can maybe.
We're just throwing
yeah.
ideas in
Yeah,
there. This is a
let's-
workshop.
we
We're
can
not
talk
saying like
about
this is the way it
that.
is, but I mean,
Yeah.
just something else to think about. That's
Yeah,
true. You know,
for
a
sure.
possibility.
Yeah. We can come up with a strategy
Yes.
and then present it.
Because I know we still own those 15 acres, right, on Hickory Tree too, right?
And that's the one we've attempted to exchange several times with multiple developers into the areas out west that we need, and so far we've not been able to make.
And that's not part of Ronan, right? Ronan's separate, right?
Roan's across from Hickory Tree Elementary.
So the ones that we have 15 acres is truly excess land.
It's
So
inside
we
of
don't
Old
have any
Hickory. But
plans
it,
to build anything on there.
I don't know how much I can say. Frank is looking into that. Property was acquired under concurrency. There's a reverter clause in it. It's for the developer who's no longer in business, but they still have some partners who are attached to it. So right now, due to that reverter clause, we would not be able to follow through with an exchange or sell.
We are obligated to attempt to identify the heirs, the people who it reverts to, which was the board of directors of the company, which dissolved. We're currently trying to identify them, and then we'd file a quiet title action in court if we can't find them. If we can find them, we're gonna have to try and.
Or the issue with the Ronan property, I'm sorry, because now you got me, my brain's not clicking, because we had a meeting and we discussed this. Ronan was right across the street from Hickory Tree Elementary, and I just felt that was weird to have two schools right across the street from each other. What if instead of taking that, building the school on Hickory Tree, the one that we have already, that way there's a little bit of distance between the two schools?
So Roan is a K-8 and Old Hickory is a K-5, and we do need the K-8. So kind of think about Roan's going to go south and east, and Hickory Tree's going to go north and east. So we've done some tentative boundaries. They really do work that close together. And we're able to,
No, I'm just talking about using this property, instead of this reverter clause. I
but
think
one's a
just-
K-8, one's a K-5. We can't put a K-8 on 15 acres with our own stormwater retention. That's the bare minimum for an elementary, is 15 acres where we have to retain our own stormwater.
Or can we flip it, make Hickory Tree a K-8 and build the K-5 there? How much land do we got on Hickory Tree? Can we make that a K-8 and flip it?
I would definitely have to go back to the developer in the city of St. Cloud. They've already approved the Roan Bridge. They are getting ready to break ground in June. So that site plan has been approved with our K-8 in there, and the fire station is adjacent. So we would be talking about going back to the developer and asking them to redesign, change their infrastructure, their stormwater concept. We'd be really late in the game to go back and make such a request at this point. They're literally breaking ground
How's
in
that for a
June.
no answer?
Oh, and I hate, and that's one of the worst
No,
answers
I'm
I hate.
kidding.
It's
I
a
mean-
timing issue, it's not a creative issue.
Yeah, that, I
It's a
mean,
pet peeve.
it would be rare we would go back and ask a developer who's breaking ground to
I
change
understand.
their entire layout.
That's all we have.
Any other questions for
Thanks for all that you do.
Ms. Castillo? I know you came late. Do you have any?
No, I'll watch the workshops,
Okay,
and I'll get with you if I do have questions.
okay, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, no.
Put you in the van.